Israeli strikes overnight hit the heart of central Beirut, Lebanon's capital, where Israel's been waging a campaign against its neighbour, from where the Iranian-backed Hezbollah militia has been launching missiles into northern Israel. This is the scene live in Beirut, and of course there was a lot of damage done to that building. The building in central Beirut, where the Israelis targeted a number of times over a few days, and then after that it was demolished completely. Well, a little earlier we were sent this report from Wira Davis from the scene.
A feature of Israeli airstrikes here in Beirut in recent days has been that they're not just targeting those areas of South Beirut regarded as Hezbollah strongholds. This was a building standing in central Beirut, close to the city centre, the heart of Beirut, and close to many hotels, including, as it happens, hotels where journalists are staying. We got a warning at about 4:30 this morning that this building was about to be hit. It has been hit several times in recent days. At 5 o'clock in the morning, there was a huge airstrike. The building has been completely collapsed. There are not thought to be any casualties because of the warnings that were given. But as you can see, this is the extent to which Israel is now prepared to go after not just Hezbollah's leaders, but also its financial interests. Tensions are running high across the country now. 1 million people have been displaced by this conflict already in Lebanon, here in South Beirut, in the south of the country, and also in the eastern Bekaa Valley, and more than 800 people, including well over 100 children, have been killed as well. But Israel says it's determined to defeat Hezbollah as a fighting force, and that means striking buildings like this. But it's clearly a war, a conflict that most people in Lebanon simply do not want.
Well, we've also heard from the IDF in the last few minutes that the Israeli military are planning on striking bridges and crossings over the Litani River in southern Lebanon to disrupt what they say are Hezbollah smuggling routes. Let's cross live to Beirut and speak to our Middle East correspondent, Hugo Bachega. What more do we know about that plan? And also tell me a bit more about that huge explosion overnight. I know you live very close by to where it happened.
Yeah, Mariam, so a lot happening in Lebanon as this has become the second front of the Israeli military in this war. And this explosion that happened here in Beirut, this attack that targeted this building in the Bashura district, I actually live just 10 minutes from the building, and I was woken up by the sound of a huge explosion. The windows in my flat rattled. So this gives you an idea of how powerful this explosion was. And this happened, you know, in the city center. For viewers familiar with Beirut, this is not really far from Martyrs Square, which is the main square in central Beirut, so away from the Dar here, where Hezbollah is based here in Beirut. And I think what a lot of people here believe is that these attacks are adding to this feeling of the Lebanese, many Lebanese, who think that nowhere is safe. So, and I think there is the belief here that this is part of the strategy here to attack facilities, buildings outside those areas considered to be Hezbollah strongholds, to create this sense of anxiety, uncertainty, and the sense that nobody really knows where the next attack will happen. And earlier today we had this new warning by the Israeli military repeating its order for civilians to leave those areas in the south of the country, and a threat to attack crossings over the Litani River. So this is a part of the country that's now been under this huge evacuation order by the Israeli military. And the fear here is that what the Israelis are planning to do is to force those civilians to leave those dozens of towns and villages in the south, to disconnect this part of the country from the rest of Lebanon's territory, and that could lead to a wide-scale invasion of the country. Up until now, the Israelis are describing what is happening in the south as a limited, targeted ground operation, but the fear here is that this could be the beginning of something bigger, of a wide-scale invasion of the country. Now, 1 million people have already been displaced in Lebanon, and there are fears that this could lead to a huge humanitarian crisis in this country.